You.
And congrats on the book. It's a lovely book, and I'm so happy to be talking to you about it, and of course about your other writing as well. And thank you, Kavishala, for having this because Preeti and I were supposed to do the launch of this book in Bombay just
Exactly.
before
Yeah.
COVID hit, and
Yeah.
I think it's serendipity that we are back again doing this launch today.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
so Preeti, which number book is this of yours now?
I think this is the 13th. 13th, I
13th
think.
book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Time
The
flies, and you have been consistently on the bestseller lists with all your books, each and every one of them,
Yes.
and you have a huge following of people who sort of wait for your next book to come out. So, and the topic of this talk is going to be tips and tricks about your writing, and how you're writing, how do you go about it. But before
Correct.
that, I want to go back to the fact that you started out as a blogger,
Yes.
Preeti, way back. So tell us a
Yes.
little about that and how that shaped your writing muscle, so to speak.
Yeah. So actually, Kiran, I remember you from blogging days. You remember we go back a long way. You had that blog, and then I had that blog, and there was this very nice community of bloggers at that time. There were so many of us blogging, and I never expected to write so many books, to be honest. And the journey from blog, like all my blog posts were very popular, and all of them got compiled into a book, and that book was very successful. And then by the time I moved to UK and I wrote my second one, and the second one was rejected by almost everyone, more than 40 rejections. Not only in India, even in UK, I went and got rejected. So that was kind of a shocker to me that the second book can be rejected, even though the first book did reasonably well. But today that book has sold more than 500,000 copies, been translated to Marathi, Kannada, Telugu, Gujarati, Turkish. So I feel it's perseverance which really helps. If you get rejected, don't worry, guys. Just be at it. So that's one thing which I always tell people who are who face rejections, and who are sad because their book didn't get accepted. I mean, all of us have gone through. I'm sure, Kiran, even you have gone through rejections. So, all of us published authors, we have to develop thick skins. We can't let one or two rejections get in the way of what we want to do.
Yeah, the famous one is, of course, Preeti, you just spoke about your experience, and of course, J.K. Rowling, who has so many rejections and went on to become J.K. Rowling. But we've all been there, we've all had our rejections, and we've all sort of persevered. Just today, I think we were having this chat on Twitter, and I told you that, I was giving up on the point of giving up after the second book. The same
Oh,
story
yes.
as yours.
Yes.
The first book was fairly successful. Second book kept getting rejected left, right, and center. And Ashwin Sagi told me, nothing do, you keep sending it out. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
how the next book came along. So, a very important lesson here is that, even if your first book is out there and is successful, there is no guarantee that the second book will be accepted. And
Exactly.
as
Or
an
the third book,
author,
or the fourth book, or the fifth book.
also,
You stand the chance of rejection with everything you write. Because see, every time you write a book, either the market will change or the publisher will think that maybe this will sell or maybe this won't sell. And especially like if you're experimenting, like Kiran, I know, has written across a lot of genres. She's written horror, she's written romance, she's written almost, I mean, name it, Kiran has written it. And even my book, every book is different. Like whether it's,
different.
it's not just love stories. I've written about gender inequality, I have written about old people being abandoned, and I've written about bipolar disorder. So I feel if you write something of substance, you do stand a chance of being rejected with every book. And you have to be okay with that. Otherwise, you can just write the same things. Same book, the second book, third
Over
book.
and over.
I see people doing that, Kiran. It's like awful. Like you see their second book, third book, fourth book, they're all the same. Same things. Yeah, some of them, the passages are the same. So in that case, yeah, you're most welcome. But if you want to be a real writer, you've got to be okay with rejections, I feel.
So the very important thing here, Preeti, is that tell the story. Don't stick to formula. So a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of, as you said, a lot of the writers they tend, okay, now this has worked for me. this particular genre has worked for me, this style has worked for me, I'm going to keep repeating it. But what I see with your work consistently from your first book with, where you dealt very deeply with the bipolar, a girl suffering from bipolar, to your current book, which is more young adult, more romance, more
Yes.
light, and more feel good. I'm
Yes.
not going to give the story away. So it's a very different writing voice that you have. Even though
Yes.
the category of reader is the same, it's young adult. So there it
Yes.
was more internal, more, deeper, while this is a narrative that is from an external gaze on these two people who are going through their journey from, from the UK to Kerala and back. So
True.
tell us, Preeti, because I employ it a lot of times, but this is not about me. But how do you work that writing muscle to write from different gazes? What are your writing exercises, or what is your? How do you do it?
Yeah, so this one, like, it was quite hard because, see, puja has to sound like puja. The book is from three perspectives actually. It's
Perspectives.
from
Yeah.
Puja, who's 19, Arush, who's 20, and in between there's the mother's voice. Now, the mother's voice was very easy to do because
Easy
I'm a
to.
mom myself. So it's very easy. Everything you feel as a mom, you just write it there, and everybody can relate because we're all migrants to the internet, unlike the current generation who are natives. So that was not so hard. So you can just like you can actually hear so many moms speaking like that, and even I've spoken that way sometimes to my kids. So that was not so hard to do. But to write from young adults' voice, so there I had a lot of inputs from my daughter and my son, both of whom are young
Okay.
adults themselves. So,
Okay.
I would, and so I know exactly how they think and what they feel, and we have a deep bond. So, my daughter was working in Singapore at that time. So, every afternoon during her lunch break, she would call me. She was in this office where there were a lot of older people. So, during lunch break, like she would just have her lunch by herself. She would wait to read the chapters. So, they're like,
Okay.
so therefore, I feel the voice came out very authentic. What Pooja says or what Arush says sounds very authentic because I know a lot of my children's friends who are like Arush and a lot of them who are like Pooja. So I have borrowed heavily from, from real life, and hence it sounds very authentic.
That's another thing, Preeti. We, as writers, we tend to take a lot. We are observers. We are cannibals, I would say, in a
Yes.
sense. We are taking things from all over the place. But unfortunately, what happens is most people, most readers, they tell us, is that from your life?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
how do we create our characters? How do you create your characters? Not everything
yeah.
is our life, obviously. We are taking it from
No,
everywhere. So, how
absolutely.
does a character get formed?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, yeah, it's funny because people don't understand that there's something called imagination. Okay, like I mean, you just take a person and you change everything about that person because even that person should not be able to recognize. So all of
Absolutely.
you guys watching who want tips, please don't take a real life person and describe that person exactly as they are. If that person is a man, make that person a woman. If that person has long hair, make it short hair. By the end of the exercise, that person themselves should not be able to recognize. Change the place, change the settings, and then take the and take the emotions that you experience. Like you might experience emotions for a certain different thing, like but you can make your character experience those emotions. So you see, there's a lot of imagination, a lot of addition which goes on to the stories, to the characters themselves. So it's not that we're not writing autobiographies, you know.
Absolutely. So, in Preeti's books, this one is definitely young adult, but there's the previous one in which, there are some mature voices. There is this girl who gets married and has a very unhappy marriage for whatever reason. So she's a more mature voice. There's another one which is a married woman who sort of revisits a former love. So these are
Yes,
voices also which are very different from the current book. So I
true.
think you've quite aced the way to, get these different ages and voices and make them accurate, so accurate that the reader can actually identify it with it. That brings me to another thing, Preeti, that when we write characters, when we write stories, how important is it for a reader to be able to, see the character and say, this could be me? And how does that come about when you're writing a character?
I do think it's important for the reader to feel that it could be them because then See, every character doesn't have to be that way, because in my book A Hundred Little Flames, I am writing from the voice of Gopal Shankar, who is an octogenarian.
Yes.
Okay, he's 80 years
Yes.
old. So I feel you have to have empathy. How does it
Hmm.
feel to be 80, and how does it feel if every part of your body is hurting and you're helpless, and you look in the mirror, you don't like what you look old, you look haggard. Yeah, the writer has to be able, or a writer should be able to get into the heads of the character they are writing about. So it's not important for the reader to relate. I mean, reader will, when they read it, they should feel empathy for the character, but it need not be about that person's life or whatever, because in that case you would appeal to only a very narrow audience. But to be frank, Kiran, and I'm sure it's true for you also, when I'm writing, I'm not even thinking about the reader. I'm just writing the
Absolutely.
story, yeah, best possible way that I can. And I'm like completely living in my characters' heads. It's completely, I'm in a different world altogether till I finish the book. So
I
that's
know.
how it is. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's how it is for every reader. I'm sorry, every writer.
I know because when I was writing Mrs. McNally and Face at the Window, I was getting joint pains. I
Oh
couldn't go
yeah,
down steps
exactly.
because she was 78 years old and I
Yeah,
actually was in her skin. So I completely get what you're saying. Uh,
yeah,
Another thing, Preeti, is when we are writing, we're getting into these characters and we've got this entire thing about internalizing our characters so much. There's so many people out there writing books. There's so much a glut of new writing that is happening. Everybody wants to write a book. Everybody's in a great hurry to be published. What is the
yeah.
rigor, the riyas that needs to be done? Because we get asked this all the time, and I think it's worth the while to keep telling people what the riyas is to actually write a book, not vanity writing, but writing a book.
Yeah, no, I really feel number one thing you need is discipline, and number two, I feel you need you should want to be a better writer. Okay, not just write a book and finish writing the book. Pay attention to the craft. You have to hone the craft of storytelling. And how can that come? That can come only if you read different kinds of writing, different voices. So reading is so important. Read as many books as you can. Only if you read different books will you be exposed to different kinds of writing, and you will know the style, you will know grammar, you will know a lot of things, you will know description, you will know different ways in which a book can be written. It can be an epistolary, or it can be something else, or it should be what is the style that you want. So I feel these things are very important rather than just writing a book and finishing it. Okay, a lot of people think that simple writing is easy writing, and it is not. Trust me, simple writing is very hard to do. It's just that the writing is so good that it feels effortless. So if you read any of Ruskin Bond's books or Neil Gaiman's books, I mean, it's just very simple, but it is so rich, it is so detailed, it is so beautiful. Michael Morpurgo, if you read those books, so it goes down so smoothly, and I think that's very hard to accomplish. And I think whatever it is that you are trying to write, pay attention to the craft. Extremely important. Don't just write anything just for the sake of finishing it and sending it out.
So, also with this entire thing about, getting published, getting your book out, there's also this trend to latch on to genres, genre writing.
Yeah,
Okay, this is very
yeah,
popular right now. So let me write in this style. How
yeah,
authentic do you feel it is? Because we do have a lot of genres, like say mythology, mythofiction, which is very popular all of a sudden. Thrillers are very popular, but then there's a glut of people writing the same thing. So, what are
yeah,
the traps that a new writer can fall into while trying to, go down the
yeah.
same trodden path?
I feel write the kind of books that you like to read. A simple test. If you like to read mythology, write mythology by all means. If you like to read horror and crime, I mean, if you like to read that, so write the kind of books which you would love to read yourself. Like when you read it, you should get a feeling that wow, did I write this? So if you do that, then I feel then don't bother about the genre, because see, a good book is a good book, whatever genre it is, it doesn't matter. Because see, I had this long back, okay, many years back, I had this mind block that I don't like science fiction. Okay, I just decided that I don't like science fiction. Why? It's not realistic. And then I read Time Traveler's Wife. Okay, and a friend of mine gave it to me. and I fell in love with the writing. Fell in love. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite books. And so then this person said, "But you said you don't like science fiction, but this is
Science
science
fiction.
fiction." And then I said, "Oh yeah, that is science fiction." I didn't even realize what genre it was. So that's what the power of a good writing does, I feel. So I feel like write a story which you would love to read, and hopefully readers read it too. So don't think about the reader, don't think about the market, don't think about will this sell, this will become a bestseller. Arey, abhi mythology ka trend chal raha hai, so I'll write mythology. Don't do that. You know?
Which also brings me to the fact that we as authors, and I'm sure you get it much more than I do, we're constantly bombarded by people sending us their manuscripts to read.
Oh my God, please don't. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do. I
And
do.
very, some are very kind requests, and some are very entitled requests,
Yeah.
and some are demands. So
Yeah.
we understand that everybody is new out there and everybody's
Yeah.
trying to get published, and it's a very difficult task. But what tips would you give wannabe authors in their process to get published? Meghna has written a lovely book about it, but as a best-selling author yourself, what would you tell them is the journey they should take? This step one, step two, step three, do these things, and then
Yeah.
if it doesn't work, then self-publish, no doubt. But this is what you
Yeah.
need to do.
So I feel step one, finish the book. Okay, finish the book. Don't just write three chapters and then send it off, because a lot of people do that. Yeah, and step two, don't send it to a published author, because the published author's opinion does not matter. They are not the
Matter.
commissioning editor. Okay, so if I tell you the book is very good, you might get rejected because the commissioning editor may not think. Or if I tell you the book is lousy, you might get accepted. So do not send, do not run behind published authors, look for their approval, and please don't send manuscripts, like that too, complete manuscripts. In fact, I've written a blog post about it, why I cannot read the stuff you send me. So anyone sends me this, I very politely say, listen, I can't read it because these are the reasons, because I have a lot of reading lists myself, and my approval or disapproval doesn't matter. The person you should be sending to is the commissioning editor. So step one, complete the book. Step two, go to a bookstore and do some research to see which publisher is publishing the kind of book you have written. Okay, some publishers publish only certain kind of books. So, and step three, look up their website. Their submissions are given there, everything is given there, and people ask, do you need an agent in India? Now, I never had an agent. I just approached the publishers myself. So step four, write a query letter. Okay, tell them what your book is about. Tell them briefly about yourself, and tell them that this is the book. Tell them that what market do you think it can appeal to. And if you have any accomplishments, like if you have written for a newspaper or if something has got published, tell them this in a query letter. And sometimes, and then just follow the guidelines. Sometimes they want you to send three sample chapters, in which case send it out. And a lot of new writers have this fear, and I also had this fear when I was a newbie. Will my idea be copied? Okay, they'll think that the publisher. Oh yeah, it's a very real fear, Kiran. But I want to tell the new people that listen, publishers have so many manuscripts. They don't have time to take your idea, copy it, and publish it and cheat you. Because, and while we may think our idea is unique, trust me, the coincidences are crazy. Because there was this one time when I wrote a book of, like, I was 25,000 words into the book. I was very happy, and that day I happened to read the newspaper, and I so happened an Irish writer had the exact same plot, and her book was out. Okay, so I said, oh my God, like, thank Lord I caught it. I switched the book. So 25,000, I abandoned it because I said, I don't want to seem like I copied her book, because though I had the idea of my own, I had no idea. So coincidences are not uncommon in the publishing world. So don't be afraid that someone is going to steal your idea. Just send out your manuscript and good luck. And make it a clean draft as much as you can, check the grammar, check the typos, and get a good draft ready and send it out. And chances are, like, I mean, if you might get accepted.
How important are beta readers to first time authors? Is beta
I
reading
think,
something you would recommend to
yeah,
them?
I think, see, I have a list of trusted readers, Kiran. I have 2, 3 readers whom I send my manuscript out to, and I take their feedback, and I And these are people I trust who will not hesitate to tell me what's wrong with the book. So that's what I do. So I do have that, and I send it out. But yeah, you could take feedback from a few trusted people if you like. What do you do, Kiran? Do you send out your manuscript? I'm just curious to know. Do you have beta readers?
No, I'm terrified. It just goes straight to the editor,
Okay,
and then it
okay.
comes back or it gets accepted. But then, before that, I do like the books like Missing, Presumed Dead, and Face at the Window, and now All
Yeah,
Things in Heaven and Earth. Those are different, very literary kind of books.
right.
Those I do so many revisions on. I think I do 20, 30 revisions, and I know it like by the back of my hand. So
Wow.
those I don't want anybody to read because I'm so terrified. The other
Got
ones
it.
I just send it out, wish my luck. I don't know, it's just something within me. I'm terrified to have somebody read it. But I think
Yeah,
I
yeah.
should adopt beta reading for the books which are, more fun, more lighter. It will
But I think
definitely
I
help.
think it also matters. I think beta reading. I think give it to the person only. At least this is my personal thing. Only once the book is done. So because
Yeah,
I don't like to show
absolutely.
the drafts, because it
No,
might be completely different from what emerges. You see,
at the
then
end,
I don't
yeah.
I
But
don't
you,
want the person to read 4 5 times. I say, oh my god, don't read this, read this. Now don't read this, because I would have changed one line or one para or something like that.
yeah. But Preeti, you're also a very structured writer.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
plan out your book completely.
True, true, true,
So,
true.
so we have two types of writers. We have the gardener and we have the architect. So you would, I think, fall into the architect category. So
True,
could you
true,
just
true.
tell us how your process of plotting and writing comes about? So that might be helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, so for me, what I do is the story idea comes to me, and the entire story is usually written by hand in a handmade journal. Okay, or at least like what happens. That will be written, and then I go into like, for example, for this book, I went into detailed. I said each scene or each movement in the book has to have a core theme. So what were the core themes? One was, the core theme was sometimes you travel far to find yourself. Okay, then there are sub themes, like there's sibling rivalry, then there's parental opposition, then there's finding yourself, then there is then there's it's kind of adventure. So everything had to come together. So then I knew, and then it had to be from two voices, and at the same time the story had to proceed forward. It had to progress forward. So that was something very difficult to do. So when you read it, it feels very easy. It feels very easy, but then such a lot of planning has gone into it. So usually my process is that I write down the entire thing, and then I go into chapters, and I'll know roughly what will come in this chapter, what will come in that chapter. I usually know the ending. I know that this is how I want it to end, and everything is leading towards that. That's what works for me.
Okay. That's lovely. I mean, I really admire that because, like, I go back and forth, and agonize. And somehow, I've done only one book which is planned all aboard. That's the only
Oh,
book which
okay.
I've done in your process. The
I
rest
love
have all been,
love that all the food. Yeah, I
the
was in
rest have all
conversation
been
with you for that. Remember, Kiran, in Bangalore when you launched
Bangalore
it, I was in
at
conversation with you at Atagalata.
Artagalata. Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
remember
It's a
that.
beautiful book.
Thank you, thank you.
I like the
So,
other one also, that Maya, the one you wrote, right? Maya.
Saving Maya.
Yes, yes,
Saving
yes. I
Maya.
like that. That's hilarious. I was laughing, reading that book, because it's
Thank you,
very
thank
hard
you.
to write. It's very hard to write funny books.
To write, to keep the humor and to keep the emotional part together. So that's a
Exactly.
difficult
Yeah, yeah.
balance. Yeah,
True,
but
true, true.
part of the job, job
Yeah, yeah.
definition. So to come back to all the various books that you've written, Preeti, you've written across young adults. You've written from a very mature person's voice, an 85-year-old. You've written his journey and his life situation. You've written about a woman who's married. Two books that I have read: a woman who's married and not in a happy situation. So, which are the stories that you find for yourself most fulfilling to write? And
I
how,
think
what,
I think so far the one which I kind of felt very satisfied was 100 Little Flames. because
Okay.
it was also partly because see, the book was set in Kerala, and the house described in that book was exactly like my ancestral home. Okay, so I borrowed a
Okay.
lot. So it was so nice to revisit those places and to tell the world what exists. For example, in that book I have described, so the time period also was that. Okay, so in that book I have described the bathroom, how it used to be. So there were these two huge tanks, and there was this brass huge vessel kind of a cauldron kind of a thing, and heating system was from outside. So I have described all that, integrated that into the story, so it felt very nice to be able to tell that story. I've described Pondicherry in that book, and then I've kind of channeled my own grandfather. I've dedicated the book to my two grandfathers, my maternal and paternal grandfather. So that kind of felt very fulfilling because it was difficult to do. It was not so easy, and at the same time, it was very satisfying to go back to that history, to go back to an era which kind of now exists only in my memories. It's all changed now. So that's something
Yes.
wonderful that we can do. At some point, I would like to write a historical fiction because it's so
Uh-huh.
nice to revisit, that era, a forgotten era, and
Absolutely.
make it come alive.
Absolutely. So we are looking forward to historical fiction from you now,
So yeah,
Preeti.
sometime. I think I want this COVID to end so I can go and do my research. I'm like, chat, I can't do this now.
But it's a good time, I think, to go inside. But now 6 months is a lot of time to go inside. We've gone
To go,
inside enough.
no,
Inside
I think,
oneself, you know.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. True, 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 true.
No, I'm just speaking for myself because I was so busy, stressed out before, this whole COVID came, and I was working a full time job, and there were books and there was everything. I was just like traveling every week. It was madness. So for me, it's been like a good, relaxing time. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Preeti, there's been so much writing, and so
Yeah.
I'm going to come to our favorite topic: women writers in India.
Yes, yes.
So we have so much of wonderful writing coming out from women, very strong voices, different across the genre. So tell me about the women writers you read and you find very interesting in terms of how they deal with their subjects and the topics they talk about, and even their writing voices. And I always believe we should, get more voices out there and get more people to read more women writers. So I'm opening
Yeah.
this up to you.
Actually, Kiran, you would be the right person to kind of, say, because I do feel that you know a lot of writers, and you are like, in touch with a lot of what comes out. See, my reading tends to be very esoteric. So many a time I take recommendations from you. Of course, I've read all your books. I have read all of Madhuri's books. And Shiny Anthony is again a very different voice. I like Vani Mahesh. Hers is a very different voice. And yeah, these are the women writers that I can think of, apart from the very literary writing, because I feel there's a dearth of smart commercial fiction. Okay, in India, like suppose you want to read commercial fiction which is nice and which is nicely written and which is not about, please, a young man falling in love with a girl, and then that kind of campus romance, and then you know I mean, that is like done to death. Yeah, there are so many more interesting things. Like, and I do feel that women's sexuality is something which is still not yet explored in books. It's kind of I can't say it's not taboo, but it's just that it's not, what can I say? People don't know about it, and I really feel it's very important for women writers to go out there, promote their work. I feel it's very important because if you don't talk about your work, who will talk about your work? Yeah, you have to talk about your work. I feel that's extremely
Absolutely.
important. I mean, don't be
Yeah, that's
apologetic for whatever you have written. Just be proud of what you have written, and just push your books out there because people need to read it. People need to hear those voices.
There is, I think, so much of. In fact, I was just watching a Danish show, Borgen. I don't know if you've seen it. You've seen it, Borgen, and
Bojin, no,
in
no, you
which
told me about. I want to watch.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a woman who's sort of getting to be the prime minister of Denmark, and the
Mm-hmm.
person who's advising her tells her, bluff it. See how men boost themselves up 50% of the time, and women will underplay themselves 50%. Do you agree
Very
with
true.
that in terms of writing?
Hundred
Do we
percent, hundred
underplay?
percent. No, not in terms of writing, Kiran, but when it comes to pushing books and marketing. Okay,
Huh.
when it comes to pushing books, see, just see this. A male writer will ask 50 people, "Arey yaar, just tweet about my book, promote my book, push my book." There'll not be any hesitation of asking. Okay, not many women writers reach out to me. As much as I can, I do. Okay, whenever I come across a good book, I review it on my Instagram. Like if you go to my Instagram, there's books one and books two. I think reviewed your books, Kiran. I've reviewed Madhuri's books because these are very honest reviews. I'm not just saying that these are good books because women have written it. And I have reviewed books by
Absolutely.
men also. By men also, I have reviewed Anand Nilkantan. I have reviewed his book. All the books that I loved, I have really raved about it. But the difference is this, okay? A guy writer, a male writer in India will reach out to 50 people and tell them, like, please push my book, please tweet about it, please put it in your stories. Can you please make a video on my book? I don't see women writers doing that. And I feel it's important.
Absolutely.
Just reach out to people. And people may not mind, but see, like if you reach out to me, I may not mind if I like the book. But how will I know if you don't reach out to me? And I'm sure, Kiran, even you would face it. I don't think, I mean, how many women will be reaching out to you telling them, Arey, please tweet about my book? Because, we always feel that, Arey, how can I ask? We feel a little hesitant to ask.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why also you've seen I tend to push out as many books on the Twitter timeline. I'm retweeting. I think 90% of my life goes in retweeting
You
people's
do,
books
you do. You're very supportive, Kiran. You're very supportive. You're one of the most
because no,
supportive people I know.
and it's just because I think we don't talk about our books, and I think good writers we really need to get the books out there. That's very important. I can see Ankur. No, okay, Ankur's gone off the screen. Another thing this entire thing when we're talking about promoting books, you do a wonderful job of promoting your books, and I know that you're very hands-on in terms of creating the visual material, in terms of creating everything. So tell us, Preeti, it's something that most writers don't think about, the actual promotion and marketing of books and how important it has become. So while I don't expect you to talk about your marketing strategies, of course, that's completely beyond. But how would you tell a new writer to think about marketing and promoting? Is it an essential part of the job? What should they be prepared for? What kind of time investment should they give? So just an idea of what they're getting into.
Yeah, so I want to say this, okay? A lot of people think that once they have written, they think that the publisher should push the book, okay? And I believe that it's your book. Once you've written a book, you're the CEO of your book. Now, if you are not in the driver's seat driving, the publisher has 50 other books. Yeah, for you, it is this one book. So, one thing I want to clarify is people think you need big budgets, okay? They think you need lavish book parties in five-star hotels. See, I have done that, and I have also done launches in bookstores. And it doesn't depend on where you do the launch. Okay, what is important is that people like the book and people talk about the book to others. So, are these big budgets necessary? No, you don't need big budgets. You can push a book in as little as 5,000 bucks. So 5,000 bucks, spend it on ads. Okay, put a 200 rupee ads. See who your target audience is, and make a nice this thing. There are some guidelines. I mean, I have a team who does it, but then there are some guidelines as to, I don't know, some ratio or something of that, of the creative, and then push it out there. You can do it yourself. Like for my life is what you make it. I did not have a marketing team. I did not have a lavish parties. So it was me and my two friends who were promoting the book. So you really do not need, once people know about your book, they'll be happy. If they like the book, they'll be happy to recommend it to others. So you have to talk about the book, but beyond a certain point, you can't push. Even if you put 5 lakh or 10 lakh, it doesn't mean the book is going to be a bestseller. So that's one thing I want to tell the newbie authors, that you don't need big budgets. And another thing I want to say is, people think that if a celebrity endorses their book, the book will do well. That is another myth that I want to burst. It doesn't matter. Because if a celebrity is going to endorse your book, okay, you're getting Amir Khan or Shah Rukh Khan or whatever by paying too much money. Then Amir Khan or Shah Rukh Khan is going to be the star, not your book. So you have to remember that your book is the star. Your book is more important than you. Your book is more important than any celebrity. So who is the star? It's the book who is the star. And who's going to make it the star? It's the reader. So if your reader has found a connect with your book, then the reader will tell 10 other people. Like, it's like when you watch a nice show, Kiran, you tell me, or you read a good book. Like, I'll be eager to read it because you've recommended it. So that's how book marketing happens. It just has to go viral the organic way. And you have to do your bit in telling people. Like, if you keep quiet and don't tell anyone that you've written a book, no one will know. You tell.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because a lot of people do that, Kiran. They'll write a book and they keep quiet, like, no one knows also, yeah. Like, you've written because they feel shy or whatever. Okay, so those are the tips that I had.
Absolutely. All very valid. And I always keep telling everyone your biggest marketing tool is word of mouth, and that you
Yes,
cannot buy.
absolutely,
That's your
yes.
only marketing tool that works. You can
Yeah,
buy shelves, you can buy spots on whatever best-selling lists, and you can buy everything, reviews and whatever. But you cannot buy good word of
yeah,
mouth. So, but
yeah.
for good word of mouth, the first thing, as Preeti said, write a damn good book, because nobody is
Yes,
going to give you good word of mouth if your book is not good. So
yes. And
that's
other thing is that over years, see, if your book is good, it will sell over the years. Okay,
just
it won't just appear in the Nielsen list for 2 weeks and then disappear. So if it
absolutely.
appears like that and disappears, then we know what's happening.
And these are all insider stories. But
Yeah.
anyway, that is for y'all to get disillusioned with later when you get into the circuit, so to speak. Um, as a writer, many people don't take writing seriously, but as professional writers, we know that there is physical demands on you, there is mental pressure on you. It is as exacting as demanding a profession as anything else. So tell us what your daily schedule is like as a professional writer.
You know
How do
what?
you
The question should be pre-COVID or post-COVID. Because this horrible
COVID
COVID
has
has, no, seriously,
changed
this
everything?
horrible, yeah, seriously, like, tell us what your life is. It's Jadu, Pocha, then this button, and, post COVID. But fortunately now I've got my my helper who comes and she wears a mask and she cleans, and seriously it's hard. Writing during, at least for me, it was hard. So I did not write anything for publication from March, April and May. I did not write. I wrote 21 days of positivity, because I wanted people to feel positive. So I wrote on my blog, but I wasn't writing anything for publication till such time Kindle made me a really good offer, and then I wrote a story, somebody that I used to know, and then after that I kind of got out of that kind of space I was stuck in. So so that's fine. I was making a lot of art. I was exercising a lot. So just do what you can in these COVID times. And then the other thing that one interviewer asked me, will any of your book feature COVID situation? I said, please, we have enough. I said, we have enough reality. We are reading a book to escape. Why will I write about COVID in my books? Yeah, I'm not going to write about COVID.
Not right
At
now,
least,
but we're too close to it right now. Maybe at some
yeah.
distance of some years, we might just revisit it. I'm sure you will also revisit it. We
Who
use
knows? I don't know.
everything, Preeti. Yeah, we
Yeah,
are
true, true.
everything is material.
True,
So
true, true.
yeah, the same thing.
True,
I mean, I
true.
think with all this Jhadu Pocha and all, the writing went for completely on the back seat. And the same thing, the Kindle offer, and then I wrote that book on, the hope and joy for
Oh yeah,
children
you
during the
did. Yes.
pandemic. Yeah, so that's the
Yes.
same thing, and that sort of got me out of the. But that's another important thing. I think most writers need to know that aspiring writers that writing is a discipline, writing is a habit. You have to do it regularly. These are very different times, so we are excusing ourselves from the discipline of writing because we have been sidetracked by Jhadu Pocha and all these wonderful things. But there is a discipline, I'm sure, Preeti, pre-COVID that you had, which
No,
would
no.
have
Now
entailed.
I am. No, discipline is paramount. See, Kiran, I'm now working on a book on positivity. I write every single day. Okay, when I'm writing a book, I write every single day, no matter what happens. I am writing till the book is done. So for me, that's very important. So
Hmm.
sometimes I have targets like 2,000 words, or sometimes I have like 1,500. but I try to write at least 1,000 words. So if it is
every day.
400 words and all that, it's very little for me. 400 words is nothing. Then I'm just being lazy. So, and I want to tell the new writers this, like, don't wait for the mood and for the muse and all that. You show up every day, your muse will show up. And for new writers, I would highly recommend this book called Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. It's a beautiful book, and she has something called the morning pages to get you out of this rut or something if you're stuck on. So, Julia Cameron, Artist's Way, just buy it and do those exercises. I mean, I love the book, so I guess it will help the new writers.
Absolutely. So this discipline is very important. Staying in touch with your manuscript, with your work in progress, is something I believe
Yes,
in as well. Even if it for me, because I'm not as disciplined as you, I have like multiple things. Like I'll have one short story collection going on. I'll have one science fiction thing here. I'll have something else. So, three, four things. But I will be putting in some words into everything every single day until I
how
feel
do you
it's.
do that, Kiran? How do you switch? That's something I'm fascinated by. Like, how do you
I'm,
work on each thing every day?
yeah. So like it'll be 500 words here, 500 words there.
Okay.
It'll be editing something here or there. So that I don't know. I'm very scattered. I think I have a very low boredom threshold, so I need to keep going back. Even when I'm reading or I'm watching, I do that. I'll switch
Right.
between books. I can show you my bedside file. It's like so much of different things completely. So
Right.
one chapter here, one chapter there.
Got it.
I don't recommend this. It's not a good way to be. But staying with the manuscript every single day is very important.
Important. Yes.
Don't let that gap come between you and the manuscript. Another thing which Preeti said was don't wait for the muse. The muse is not bothered. If you're not going to turn up every day, the muse will not come. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
you have to be at your desk and you have to be writing and you can't say writer's block. This is another thing. This
Yes.
indulgence of writer's block. Would you like to
Yes.
elaborate?
I don't believe in writer's block. I really don't believe in writer's block because I feel writer's block. I'll tell you a tip to get over writer's block. Okay, just imagine that you're describing the scene in front of you to a blind person. Okay, and then just write, and you have to describe that scene. So you have to describe your carpet, your sofa, your cushion, and all. The end of it, you have written something. So what is this writer's block anyway? It's a myth. So, and writer's block comes when you believe that whatever you write has to be the best writing. It has to be a great writing. It doesn't have to be. You can write nonsense, because all of it can get corrected. See, you cannot revise or edit a blank page, but you can edit a badly written page. So, doesn't matter. So, throw all those notions out of your head. But if you're really stuck, I recommend like doing something different. Say, in COVID times we are stuck, of course, but you can just probably go out for a drive, or just go out for a walk, or just watch a movie, or paint. Or like, for me, my go-to is painting. I when I don't feel like writing, I make my art. So do something that puts you in a good mental space and be relaxed about it, and come back to your writing, and it will come. So don't try to be this moody writer who says that, oh, aaj mood nahi hai. All that is nonsense. Just write.
That's very true. Like one of my favorite writers, Cheryl Strait says, a
Yeah.
miner doesn't say I have miner's block. A surgeon doesn't say I have surgeon's block. If you call
Yeah,
yourself a proficient writer, please write. So you don't have
absolutely.
that indulgence to, say you have a block and you can't write.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
not some pipe that you get blocked.
so anyway, we can unclog all the pipes possible
Yes,
by
yes,
just
yes,
writing. Let the words
yes.
flow. Uh, do we have any questions, Akash? I can't see any questions on the screen. I'm sure people would be wanting to ask Preeti questions. So if there are, if you can just put them in the chat, we could answer them. Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah,
Okay,
someone
no
has
worries.
questions.
Yes, Subhashini Swarup. Yes, Preeti. Question.
I have
I've
completed my
completed my
Hindi
Hindi
poem.
poems collection and I want to convert it into a book. Yeah. She wants to convert it into a book. Please guide me what to do. Preeti.
I think I think
What should be her
best
first step?
yeah, I think the best thing would be to ask Kavishala, because even I have written over 100 poems, but nobody wants to publish it. So because publishers, because frankly publishers don't believe there's money in poetry or whatever. But I'm
Poetry
sure
is
there are
yes.
poetry publishers. I think I'm not sure who are the poetry publishers, but just go to the poetry publishers' websites and just follow the guidelines over there.
Yeah. And Kavishala must be having a lot of resources. I'm sure that if you can check with them as to what resources they offer, they'll be
True,
glad to help.
true,
Yeah.
true, true.
This was a lovely conversation, Preeti. We had great fun. All the best to writing. All the best to this new book. May it prosper. May it stay on the bestseller list for a long, long time. Everyone, do you know Preeti's life is what you call a make of it has been on the bestseller list for how many years now?
Ever since it was
10,
published, so I think 9, 8, 9 years.
nine
Yeah,
years. So that is
yeah,
the
yeah,
true test of a bestseller when it
yeah.
stays on the best-selling list for more than a couple
For
of
so
weeks.
long.
So
Yeah.
all the best for this one, and
Thanks
thanks
a
so much
lot,
for
Kiran.
joining us. Thanks,
Thank you
Kavishala,
so
for
much.
this.
Yeah, it was a lovely
Yeah,
conversation, Kiran. I had so much fun. Thank you.